Welcome into Vandy on SI. I'm Joey Dwyer. He's Graham Bacco. He's Tyler Jordan. Here at Memorial Gym after a 98-94 loss for Vanderbilt to Florida. Guys, I think two of the best teams in the league. No doubt about that, really. And honestly, it might be the two best teams in the league. When this is all said and done, a game with significant SEC title implications. Vanderbilt comes up just short, though. And I think you're looking at it and saying a lot of Vanderbilt's problems on display today. And you don't want to be too gloom and doom after two losses. They're still 17-2, right?
Yeah.
Or 16-2. But I'm looking at it and I'm saying they have to get a certain matchup if they're going to win the NCAA tournament at this point, and if they're going to make a deep run. And I think that matchup can't include a lot of what Florida does well, where they just beat Vanderbilt up on the glass tonight.
Yep.
And honestly, I thought Vanderbilt didn't get enough stops either. And I don't know that that's anything but stating the obvious, but you're looking at 98 points is too much regardless of who you're playing. I don't think Florida's guards are as good as Vanderbilt's guards made them look. And obviously Alex Condon and Ruben Chinyelu had a great game as well. Graham, not a night where I think you panic about Vanderbilt basketball, but one where you say, all right, they're not invincible, and now we know what to look for on Selection Sunday as we kind of look at the second and third round of what they might see.
Yeah, I don't think if you're Vanderbilt, you're looking toward Selection Sunday. I don't think you want to get matched up against a mid-major champion that can rebound the ball really well, because that's started to become a theme over the past couple weeks here. Where you even go back to the Alabama game, they're minus 11 against Texas. They suffered in the rebounding category. Here, they're minus 14. I think one of the things that made the biggest difference to me is Florida had won the offensive boards 13-6, and so after the offensive rebounds, Florida ends up winning the second chance points 22-8. So in a game where you lose by 4 and you lose by 14 because you give up too many, or you go minus 14 in a category because you can't rebound the basketball, and it's in a close game, that's going to cost you a lot. It cost them a win today, or at least it partially did. One of the biggest reasons why I think they did lose today. So, that just continues to get exposed, and it's like they cannot play without fouling. It seems like McLaughlin gets 4 fouls. We saw Duke Miles foul out, which doesn't really happen, but we see guys like McLaughlin get in foul trouble quite often, and I don't know what the fix is to put a stop to that exactly, but it just continues to just become a theme, especially as we get into SEC play. Now, the good thing for me, and I think the good thing for Vanderbilt, is that not every team is Florida. So not every team is going to have guys like Condon and Chinyelu and all these guys. So that's the positive to look forward to, but I don't know, maybe it's toughness, but there has to be some sort of fix to this rebounding as you go deeper into SEC play.
Yeah, I think you can fix rebounding almost more than you can fix foul trouble in some ways, because you can technically fix foul trouble, right? Like you can tell them to put their arms up, you can tell them to maybe back away from a guy as he goes up and you have 4 fouls, whatever. I also think a lot of that has to do with what you did in June and how you constructed this roster. And I think they might have thought they were farther along in that way, because I think they thought that Mason Nicholson would maybe be more of a factor than he is at this point. The good thing for them is they didn't have to throw Leverett in there tonight. And that would have indicated that this was a little bit dire. Obviously didn't do that tonight, but you're just looking at it and you're saying, man, it's like if they have Devin McLaughlin playing the 5 that much, I think he's just bound to be in foul trouble at that point. And I don't know if there's really a fix beyond hope Mason Nicholson or Jaden Leverett comes along and they can play the 5 a little bit more and take some of the pressure off of him. I don't know that the McLaughlin foul trouble is as much of a McLaughlin issue as it is they have put a ton of pressure on Devin McLaughlin to be really good on defense against bigger guys who, in some ways, he doesn't really have any business guarding, and that's not an insult to Devin McLaughlin. It's just, they're undersized still, and they're not undersized positionally across the board, but I'm looking at their 5 position, kind of like I did on Wednesday, and I'm saying, Jalen Washington and Devin McLaughlin are better than Jalen Carey and Devin McLaughlin, I think, at least in terms of how they play off of each other. It still doesn't change the fact that they wanted McLaughlin to play more at the 4, and he's still having to play primarily at the 5. That's kind of where my worry is with that.
I think getting Frankie Collins back eventually will help with the foul trouble as well, because you're getting another guy back who can rotate in that you're going to get consistent good minutes from, where you're not going to have to deal with worrying about Duke Miles fouling out with 4 minutes left in this game, or McLaughlin getting in 4 foul trouble and then sitting for, I think he sat for 8 to 10 minutes of that second half. So it's another consistent, high-quality player that you're going to get back that's going to help with the foul trouble as well.
Yeah, I think that's a big deal. And It's been somewhat doom and gloom thus far. We'll say this. I think Florida had a disappointing start to the year. I think we found out Florida's pretty good.
Yeah.
Xavier Lee has been much better. I mean, the front court speaks for itself, things along those lines. Boogie Flam made some big plays for them today. They were within striking distance here. They had a lead with, I think, under 2 minutes left in this game, and I think they had a chance to tie the game with the second last possession they had. Thought if Mark Byington called a timeout, they might have drawn something up for a 3, but instead they choose to play it out. Mark Byington cited only having one timeout at that point. Again, though, not a terrible alternative where you put Tyler Tanner in a ball screen and try to go get him to draw some contact. Byington took exception to the no hook and hold on Xavier Lee, which I think would have changed the dynamic there. You don't have to use the challenge or whatever, and I think you maybe have a different outlook there. But Graham, I still think, for as poorly as the rebounding went, and as poorly as three-point shooting was at times, and as poor as the foul trouble was, they're still in a game with Florida with a couple minutes or a couple seconds to go, honestly. And, you're putting the ball in Tyler Tanner's hands and telling him to make a play. I think you take that outcome more times than not, even if it is a memorial.
Yeah, and I think Vanderbilt offensively sort of returned to form. I mean, against Texas, it was by far the worst performance on offense they had throughout the whole season, and they returned to form sort of today. Obviously, Tyler Tanner he got 20, and he almost went in takeover mode toward the end. I mean, that's probably why with Duke Miles fouling out with 4 minutes, it was basically him taking all the shots and just running the show, which obviously you have good evidence has worked throughout the season, and that's what Mark Byington said as to why he did not take that timeout with. I think there's 18-ish seconds left in the game. He said, well, I've got enough, handful of examples of Tyler Tanner running the show and not needing a timeout, and it just didn't work out today. And, I don't think there's much reason to panic in terms of, especially offensively. There's not much a reason for Vanderbilt to panic. And I really think this, like you said at the start of this, I think this was a game and a matchup between the two SEC frontrunners right now. I feel like the winner of this game is going to become the SEC frontrunner. And Florida, like you mentioned, the early season struggles they've had. I don't know if it was maybe building team chemistry or what have you, but they have really turned it on these past couple weeks. Once the calendar has turned to SEC play, they have just been blowing these teams out. Yet here Vanderbilt is, they suffer, in the rebounding category minus 14, but they have a chance to win in the final minute, and it just didn't go their way. And this team is still bound to be a top, one of the top teams in the league, and obviously one of the top teams I think that you could see going on a run here come March.
Yeah, and that's why we talk about the foul trouble and the rebounding, is because it's about margins when you're this good and you're this close to the SEC title. Like, I still think their guard play was good enough to win today, and I thought they played better than Florida's guards did. Duke Miles and Tyler Tanner did. If Miles maybe in the game a little bit later, if Tanner makes that layup, it's a different story. It is interesting, like, they got out rebounded and the foul trouble got to them. They barely turned the ball over. Yeah. I thought Florida made some shots, and Tyler Nickel, basically his entire press conference was about Florida made some shots that maybe they generally don't. And you're still looking at it and you're saying Vanderbilt's offense was good enough to win this game, and maybe in an alternate reality, maybe 5 times out of 10, Florida doesn't make those shots, and it's a different type of game, Tyler. I still think that says something about them, although I think we're past the point of this program taking moral victories. You're in an SEC title race, those don't count for much.
Yeah, definitely. Coach Byington mentioned it. It's better that this happened in January than in March. Because there is, like you guys have mentioned, a strong likelihood that these two teams see each other again in the SEC tournament.
This could be the title game.
Potentially in the championship,
Sure.
So I think it's positive from that sense, but you also have to definitely start playing better, rebounding better, not fouling as much down the stretch in SEC play, because you do want as high of a seed as possible come Bridgestone tournament time.
Yeah, and I think, honestly, this is just kind of the ebbs and flows of the season here. Like, you go to Texas, I thought Texas was a really bad matchup for them with what Vanderbilt struggles with and what Texas is exceptional at. And Florida, I think the same thing. And Arkansas, I don't think is a good matchup for them either, especially in Fayetteville. You could see them lose 3 in a row here, and I still think they're an SEC title contender. And I think that's okay to say. Like, they're 3-3 in the league, and I don't anticipate that getting them out of the race here. I still think that's a real possibility at that point. Xavier Lee getting a standing O from the crowd there. We'll close us out with some good things here for Vanderbilt. I think maybe the best thing that Vanderbilt had going for it today was its bench scoring. Like, you know what you're going to get from Tanner. Miles didn't have his best game. I thought still did some good things, but probably the best things I'm looking at today, Jalen Washington really stepped up. A.K. Okereke had one of his better games in the Vanderbilt uniform. Tyler Harris, I thought, got going a little bit. That's what you need if you're going to make a run at the title here is you got to have guys to complement your real guys, and I thought that really happened today relative to Wednesday when it was just Tanner, who was sick, Miles, Nickel, and McLaughlin really running the entire show. I think that's probably the resounding positive today. And Vanderbilt, I thought, was better offensively than it was on Wednesday by a significant amount.
sure.
It scored 30 more points. It barely turned it over, and I thought it left some meat on the bone shooting as well. So no panic meter on my end. I think I'm looking at it and I'm saying Selection Sunday, you've got to be pretty particular about what you're evaluating as a good matchup. However, I'm not saying that they're going to be in Selection Sunday and be anything less than a 3 or a 4 seed right now. I think it's possible they are lower than that, but I'm not counting them out from anything that I thought about them a week ago. Kind of a marginal day at Memorial Gym where they had a chance to have a signature win. Don't get it, and I'm sure those guys are heartbroken down there. So for Graham Bacco, for Tyler Jordan, I'm Joey Dwyer. Thank you guys for watching. God bless, and we'll be back with you throughout the week as Vanderbilt continues its push for the top of the SEC standings. Thank you guys for watching again. God bless. Talk soon.